Welcome back! I'm so happy to see you all again, and so is Meerly. She always gets very excited when it's time to add another chapter to her story, and today is no exception. Now remember, if you've missed anything so far, you can find the first two parts of the story at meerlythemeerkat.com. That's MEerlythemeerkat.com. All one word. But hurry back. It's about to get very scary in the Meerkat tunnels. All was quiet in the Meerkat home. The moon was shining brightly, and the soothing sounds of nighttime, crickets, toads, and birds, were just beginning to chirp and croak and sing. Their lulling voices created a comfy blanket of sound in which to fall fast asleep. The mob had gathered in the clearing, just outside the tunnels, to say good night. Paws were shook, and hugs and wishes were given for a restful slumber. Suddenly, the calm sounds of the coming night stopped. There was only quiet, an eerie, frightening quiet. Then Max began to chirrup from his sentry post. The chirrup became a growl, and the growl turned into a howl. Meerly remembered that a howl meant danger was near. Then Max began to shriek. Max began to shriek wildly. "Mother, Mother," said Meerly, "shrieking is really, really bad, right?" "Shh, shh, my darling," whispered Myrnie. Danger was clearly approaching. Someone, something was coming. Myrnie stood tall and still on her hind legs, as did all the other meerkats, scanning the landscape with their huge eyes, filled with a look Meerly had never seen before. The growls and howls and shrieks from Max were picked up by the others and grew into a cacophony of fear. Through the tall African grasses, through the dimness of the coming night, came a thumping, thundering, terrifying noise. The tall weeds swayed as if a horrible wind was blowing, and even the sturdy trees seemed to tremble. Only the soft moonlight lit the scene. The grasses parted, and there was nothing to see but strange, dark shadows, tall and smelly, whispering to each other. They were silhouetted against the moonlit sky. They loomed over Meerly's home. They were terrifying to the very meerkat bone. Yes, to the very meerkat bone. Remembering her mother's advice, Meerly whispered innocently, "Should we be polite and say hello?" Myrnie quickly put a paw over Meerly's mouth, holding her tight. The African night was suddenly filled with screams and cries and yelps of terror as the other meerkats fled into the tunnels, leaving Myrnie and Meerly in the wide open sandy area they called home. They were all alone, with nothing to protect them, without a friend to be found. They watched as the shadows came closer and closer. Myrnie was frozen with fear, but somehow she managed to push Meerly behind her. "There are two over there!" yelled one of the shadows. "Grab 'em!" said another. "Don't let 'em get away!" "Oh no," said Myrnie. Shadows. And shadows mean only one thing. Lost ones. She grabbed Meerly and ran toward the main entrance to the tunnels. Meerly, being so small, could not run very fast, so Myrnie scooped her up and raced to reach the safety of the caves. She pushed Meerly into the tunnel and quickly followed her, just as a big, shadowy hand came in after them, fingers flying, nails scratching and digging in the sand. "This way, Mother! This way! I know a safe place!" Meerly ran as fast as she could through these tunnels she knew so well, with Myrnie following close behind. They could hear stomping above them. As they arrived at each entrance, big, angry, searching hands reached down into the tunnels, trying to snatch the pair as they raced by. At each entrance, Meerly and Myrnie pressed themselves up against the sandy walls, trying to stay just out of reach of the clawing fingers, barely avoiding the creeping tendrils. And then they ran and they ran. For a moment, they paused and could hear the stomping moving farther and farther away toward the other end of the maze. "Back this way, Mother! They're going to the other end, and we can make sure Elder Max is safe inside." The two raced back to the main entrance. Their little paws ached, and they were panting with fear and exhaustion. But they had to make sure Max was safe. After all, he had warned them of the danger. Max had risked his very life to save theirs. They reached the entrance, and Myrnie began to carefully poke her nose out when Mearly scrambled by her out into the open. "Max! Elder Max! Where are you? No, no, Mearly!" But she was too late.